other business. The medical business depends on repeat business. So they have to enforce their system of medicine now using guns to make sure that people keep buying their products over and over and over again. And now we see what happens if you resist. If you say no, then suddenly you're an enemy of the state. An enemy of the state. That's what Maryanne, that's the situation she finds herself in today because she said no to the psychiatric medication of her child. Now, you may wonder what you can do about this. Well, for one thing, you can help Maryanne Godboldo. I want you to go to naturalnews.com, search for Maryanne, and you'll find web articles there where we link directly to her Facebook page and her website. We are also attempting to help raise money for Maryanne and point people in the direction of making donations so that she can have some good legal representation. We are doing this in the interest of seeing justice served. What has happened to Maryanne is a grave injustice, not just against her as a person, and not just against African Americans as a community, but against all human beings on our planet today. It is a grave injustice against humanity. And justice must be served in this case for us to be able to put this issue to rest and move on with a level of peace. And the only way justice is going to be served is if Maryanne is found innocent or all the charges are dropped against her. And instead, charges of attempted kidnapping and conspiracy to commit this kidnapping with the use of firearms, those charges should be leveled against Child Protective Services workers. In addition, they should be leveled against the law enforcement officers that attempted to raid her home, that broke down her front door. Because think about it. They were engaged in an illegal act. They were engaged in a conspiracy to conduct an armed raid in order to kidnap a child from a parent. It's kidnapping. It's conspiracy to kidnap. It is aggravated breaking and entering with a weapon. This is what the police were involved in. Now, I'm not against police. I have, in fact, supported police in many ways in the past, local police. I've donated time and money. I've served on the board of a nonprofit in Arizona that helped provide materials to the local cops who weren't getting their Kevlar vests, who weren't getting the right equipment so they could do their jobs. I'm a big believer in local law enforcement when it's used correctly. But this case is an abuse of law enforcement. This is an insult to the fine men and women in blue who have an important job to do, which is keeping bad guys off the streets, not enforcing some prescription medication agenda from a drug company. That's not what they're hired to do. Cops shouldn't be sent out there to shove guns in women's faces and say you have to vaccinate your child or you have to give your child this medication, otherwise we're going to strip your child away from you and march you out of here in handcuffs. That's an insult to every cop, retired or active, in this nation. And it's bureaucrats that are making these decisions, of course, not the cops. The cops would never want to go out and deal with this situation. But I have a warning for the cops out there, because I know what you're facing. You know, if you say no, you're going to lose your job and lose your pension. And it's these crazy bureaucrats who are calling the shots and ordering you to do these kinds of things. So what do? People are beginning to shoot back when they are faced with the kidnapping of their children, when they are faced with felony assaults by men with guns, whether they have a badge or not. If you're a cop, don't be stupid enough to put yourself in the line of fire and risk your life and risk getting shot up just so that you can enforce the drug company's medication agenda. That is not worth your life. That is not worth your job. That is not worth your personal risk. We need you on the streets to help keep our streets safe from the real bad guys, the murderers, the rapists, you know, the child molesters out there, and probably the CPS workers who are some very evil people too, because they're engaged in the systematic state-sponsored kidnapping of children all across America. They steal children away from their parents using the power of the state to justify it. Those are the criminals you should be going after. Not women and parents who are doing the right thing and trying to protect their children from the dangers of psychiatric medications. So cops, believe me, I'm warning you. I want you to be safe. I don't want you to get tangled up with these people, because Maryanne missed. But if you keep this up, if you keep raiding these homes of these holistic parents and these homeschooling parents, if you keep raiding their homes with your guns drawn, sooner or later you're going to get shot up. Some of you are going to get killed doing this. It's just, unfortunately, it's the inevitable effect of the situation, because if you bring guns to the situation, you are escalating it. And some people, they're going to feel like they're backed into a corner, like they have no options, because they don't. You're coming at them with guns to steal their children away. What would you do? I mean, I ask that to every cop out there watching this, every active or off-duty cop, every military person or ex-military watching this. What would you do if a gang of armed assailants broke down your front door and said they're marching into your home to take your children away from you and take you away? What would you do? Well, you would shoot back. I know you would, because that's your training, because you believe in justice. Also, you know that it's not right for someone to break into your home and take away your child, especially since you're just being a parent. Now, hey, if there's a parent beating a child and engaging in physical violence at that moment, then of course the state has some kind of responsibility to intervene. I can understand that argument. I mean, I might still pick it apart and say it's really more the local community should intervene, but I can at least understand that. But for the state to intervene and then risk your life as a cop to go in and enforce a medication agenda is completely senseless. It has nothing to do with your real job, and it is an injustice that it's basically turning our parents into criminals if they don't take the drugs we tell them to. How do you avoid all of this, by the way? Especially as an African-American parent, how do you avoid this situation? Here's the answer. Never take your child to a doctor. That is, a conventional doctor. Never do it. Don't take them to a conventional pediatrician, and here's why. Because if you take your child to a pediatrician, and if that pediatrician determines that you should give a prescription drug to your child, or chemotherapy to your child, or a vaccine to your child, and if you refuse to do that, they can then call CPS. CPS will then show up at your door, and they will threaten you. They will say, if you don't give your child this drug or this vaccine or this chemotherapy, we're going to take your children away from you. And if you then say no, they'll call the cops, and they'll bring guns onto the scene. And if you still say no, they'll bring the SWAT team onto the scene. And if you shoot back, you're going to be facing multiple felony counts, just like Maryanne Godboldo is. Bless her soul. She's a hero. She's a hero like Rosa Parks, who refused to sit in the back of the bus. She said, I'm not going to be treated like this by the state. I'm not going to sit in the back of the bus. I'm going to sit in the front of the bus. And she stood up as part of the civil rights movement, just like Maryanne has stood up against the tyranny of the medical police state. The medical police state that is run by a gang, that is funded by a monopolistic racketeering organization, that's Big Pharma and the FDA, both of which should be prosecuted under the RICO Act. That's the racketeering and organized crime law that was used to prosecute the mob. That should be used against Big Pharma and the FDA today, but it isn't. You see, justice seems to be only one-sided in America today. Where's the justice for Maryanne? Where's the justice for all those other parents who have been threatened with guns, who have been arrested, who have been stalked across the country because they refuse to give their teenage children chemotherapy? We've documented those cases on naturalnews.com. Search for gunpoint medicine on naturalnews.com. You'll see some of the stories that we've written over the last 5 years. I've been writing about this since 2006. I've been warning people about this since 2004 because I saw it coming. The medical police state, gunpoint medicine, guns in your face, vaccines in your child's arms. This is here now today, and if you don't comply, they're going to bring it to you, and they're going to force you through the threat of violence to harm your children. And they, the state and the CPS workers and the cops, they are going to conspire to commit felony crimes in forcing you to do what they want you to do. It is a great injustice that is happening today, and we can only hope that justice will be served. In the meantime, don't take your children to a conventional doctor, ever. Go see a naturopathic physician. Go see someone, a holistic healer of some kind. Anything but a regular doctor, because a regular doctor will call the cops on you. They'll have your children taken away. So don't go visit them anymore. I've seen this happen too many times. I've seen doctors call CPS and call the cops on parents when they said, no, I don't want to treat my child with those drugs or with that chemotherapy or with those vaccines. Doctors are dangerous. They might as well be pointing the gun at your head themselves. Doctors are dangerous even when they're not wielding guns. They're dangerous just in what they prescribe. The drugs themselves are dangerous. The FDA, it has approved drugs that now kill at least 100,000 Americans a year when used as directed. Do you realize the severity of this issue? We're talking about twice as many Americans being killed each year by FDA-approved medications as were killed in the entire Vietnam War. Twice as many every year in America from pharmaceuticals. So Maryanne was right to question the safety of those drugs. She was right to exercise caution. She was right to say no to CPS, to say back off, get out of my house, get your hands off my child. Whether or not you believe in gun rights, I hope you believe in health freedom. I hope you believe in civil rights. I hope you believe in family rights. I hope you don't think that the state owns your children. I'm glad that no one was injured in this incident. However, I know that if this continues, if the state continues to go after holistic parents and to bring guns to these scenes, I know that sooner or later someone is going to be hurt or killed. I know it's coming because the state won't back down. The state is arrogant. The state thinks it's always right. The state doesn't believe that parents should have any right to choose what's best for their own children. And that's the danger. That's how you know we live in a medical police state. That's how you know that corporate fascism is taking over America today. Watch Natural News for more developments on this story. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, reporting on this special Health Freedom episode here on naturalnews.tv. Thanks for watching.
It's hard for me to walk out of here without knowing that I'm going to get my daughter back. I need the President of the United States to step into this. Come help me, Obama. Come help me, First Lady Obama. I want my daughter back.